What's up? What's up? This is the last episode in the Quit Like a Leader series, five mini podcast series, and I am so excited to deliver this episode to you. It is about not being a victim and being a leader. I am the host, Brittany Young. I'm an executive sobriety coach. I work with high achievers who are looking to shift their relationship with alcohol for good. And in today's episode, what we're talking about is something that's really near and dear to my heart. Something that, I I love to talk about, but I don't talk about enough.
And I think that we're so afraid of being found out. We're so afraid of somebody finding out about our circumstances behind the scenes. What are we up to behind the scenes? Right? I go home from my 9 to 5 or my job or my office or even in my home, and behind closed doors, what am I hiding? And I have to reference this because I saw it this morning. Theo Vaughn was talking about how he lived in a very much victim mentality for years and how his victimhood supported his lifestyle. And when you are in active addiction, doesn't matter what the addiction is, it could be alcohol, it could be sex, it could be gambling, it doesn't matter. That victim mentality only serves you to the best of its ability. You cannot find happiness, joy, or surrender until you have decided that you are no longer a victim, but you are a leader and you need to start acting like one. And, you know, this episode is for you if you're running a business or you're climbing that corporate ladder, you find yourself parenting, you're trying to partner with your spouse, you're caregiving, you're trying to hold it all together. And somewhere in between these Zoom meetings, in-person meetings, flying, bedtime routines, trying to make it home for people's birthdays, you name it, you have lost you. You feel like you can't slow down. You have to keep performing because that's all you know. And that glass of wine, that glass of whiskey, it's the only thing that lets you breathe. But the truth is, the drink isn't helping you escape anything. It's helping you forget who you are. And so it spins the lie of victimhood. It keeps you stagnant in that space. Now, when I was drinking and I wasn't married yet, I got married in 2019 to my forever. But that pressure when I was drinking, ooh, wow. It was crushing. It crushed my soul. I had a high performing job. My butt was on the line. I had big responsibilities and an image to uphold. Not going to get into all the details of what I did or where I worked, but let's just say within the pharmaceutical industry, I was on a team that was we were revered very highly. And our boss at the time had been there since she was a teenager. And so our reputation was on the line as a department. And so I had this image to uphold. I also knew what our responsibilities were to make sure that we kept the oil running so the sales team could close more deals. How important that was to the organization, our responsibilities. And, I studied sales and marketing in school. I eventually went on to do sales um, for over a decade of my career. And I knew how to close deals. I knew how to win. I knew how to hustle. I knew how to run with the boys, but I had no clue how to stop drinking. And I had no clue how to slow down, how to even just take a breath or a pause, or how to just be. So my drinking wasn't out in public, right? I wasn't going to nightclubs. Um, I was one of those people that sat in silence at home at night and would drink at the kitchen table alone because sitting there by myself felt normal and it felt like I could ignore all the outside noise that was going on, the expectations, the pressure, the performance, the fear. And when I did go out, I blacked out. When I did go out, I would get behind the wheel and drive home drunk. When I did go out on the weekends, I was that person passed out on the sidewalk. I was that person getting kicked out of the bar because of my belligerence and my disobedience. I was that woman who had a different identity and became very much a victim to that identity. And if you can see my shirt today, it says pray, wait, trust, God has a plan, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about God's plan for you when you decide to surrender, because the enemy wants you to believe this is just the way that it is. You have to be performing under pressure. This is the only way to cope. It's the only way you can be successful is to hang with the boys. There's no way sobriety provides you with any sense of reality or a good life. And leadership looks like making sure that you're carrying everything on your back until you break, right? But I'm here to tell you that God delivers a different plan, and that plan is in 2 Corinthians 12:9. And in that plan, it says, in your weakness, I am strong. So when you are at your darkest, deepest moment, the Lord's right there. He ain't going nowhere. He meets you in those depths, like we talked about last episode. He meets you in the truth, no matter what. And he's always there. So leadership for you and I, it doesn't start when our chaos begins to end. It actually begins when we stop escaping this lie of victim mentality and we start trusting God in the messy middle. And I think the messy middle is the most beautiful part of surrender. Now, what is the messy middle? Messy middle is okay, I have decided that I'm going to live this sober life, but I don't really know what life looks like on the other side of that. And you're a freaking mess. You don't know what life looks like, and you're not supposed to. But somehow, what starts to happen is your gears start to turn. Say after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you're starting to see things a little bit clearly. You're starting to gain more awareness of your body again, of the people around you, of the life that you're living. And you're like, wow, I was a complete disaster. That's the messy middle, right? When we shift out of that mentality, that victim mentality, because we stay in that messy middle victim mentality, when we start to shift out of that, we start to begin to see that we're no longer a victim and we're no longer a victim to our calendar. We're no longer a victim to our relationship or our spouse or our job or even our past. You are not your past. You get to be empowered by the choices that you're making right now. And that is true leadership. Not because you're perfect, because none of us are, but because you have been called, you are chosen, and you are equipped to rise despite your circumstances, despite anything that you've ever done. God meets you in that middle. So I think where we tend to mess up and go back into that victimhood is, we start seeing everyone around us winning. Um, they're giving everything to their business and their relationships, and they feel like, you know, um, they don't feel like they're drowning, but they're also not drinking. And they're the provider and they're the fixer and they're the one that people can count on, but somehow I can't do that. And what we do is we stop putting our faith in God and we start carrying everything around for ourselves. And so we pile on, the shame and the guilt and feel as if we have to be the ones to carry it in our backpack. It's like rocks. Every time you go up a hill, you're putting a new rock in. And that's shame, that's fear, that's guilt, that's anxiety, that's depression. You're putting these things back into the backpack, and God's behind you trying to take them out. And I have good news for you. You don't have to keep performing. You don't have to keep pretending that this is the life you desire to live. And you don't have to keep punishing yourself for not having it all together because nobody does. Not a single person has it completely together. And so, a reminder, you are not a victim of your circumstances. You're creating choices, and maybe the choices that you're creating turn you into a victim of your circumstance. But you're not a victim to your marriage, to your schedule, to your kids, to your childhood, to your performance. You're a leader. And leaders go first when they surrender. I'm going to drop some more truth on you. Matthew 20:26. Okay, it says, whoever wants to become great among you must first be a servant. The greatest leaders ate crap, right? They didn't rise yesterday. They worked their butts off. And if we look at Jesus and we look at his leadership and how he became a leader, he redefined leadership for all of us through humility, through responsibility, and through obedience. And it's time that we start looking to do the same exact thing because we're not stuck. We're simply being stretched. We're not overlooked. We're being redefined. We're not a victim, we're a leader, and we get to rise to the best of our ability in our own strength and also in God's strength. So I know this is a short episode, and that's for various reasons. But I ask you to ask yourself, where have you allowed your pain to define you instead of God's power? Where have you allowed your pain to define you instead of God's power? And can you start to see yourself, even if you are drinking or smoking or doing substances that you shouldn't be doing? Can you see that you are not a victim? That you get to choose what it looks like to lead and lead not only in faith, but really to stop escaping your true potential. So I hope over the last 5 episodes that this one being the shortest, but this hits home for you. And I'm just going to recap where we started to where we're at. In our first episode, we talked about the lie of high performance and hitting your numbers and being the big guy at the office, but it's never enough, right? And so we drink that pain away. Episode 2, alcohol is a business strategy until it's not. You could be a closer, you could be taking people out for drinks and dinner and all the things, but behind every bottle or every drink, rather, you don't know how to slow down. So we talked about that. Episode 3, I told you more about where I'm at in real time and pregnancy and, you know, where things are in my life and redefining success and how I no longer look at it like it has to be worldly. Success is because of who I am. Episode 4, it was all about the truth and the truth about you and why you can't handle it because nobody's sharing the truth really with you to your face. And so I get to be the one to do that with you. And of course, it does hurt because, truth doesn't disqualify you. It sets you free. It delivers you only when you're ready to face it. And then today we talked about being a leader instead of being a victim to your circumstances. And remember, folks, you are not your past. You are not what you have done. You get to change that. You get to shift and you get to be empowered by the choices that you're making today. You don't need to prove your worth to anybody. You don't need to question yourself. You don't even need to explain who you are or what you do because that's not what you are, or who you do. So, can you release that? And can you see that your power is created because of God? My friends, this has been a lot of fun doing these episodes with you, and I plan to do some more. Have to come up with some new content and go from there. But thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is Brittany Young, executive sobriety coach, helping high achievers shift their relationship with alcohol for good. And I see you, I hear you, and I love you, and I hope that you have the best rest